Yerp, this perp back with another video, and yes, just got done watching From Season 2, Episode 2, and man, this was a very fascinating episode. Some things I want to kind of talk about as far as these monsters that we've been seeing, and it's very interesting the way that we kind of get to see a little bit more of them out in the wild, you know what I'm saying? A little bit more into action. But this episode leaves off where the last episode left off, where we saw Boyd pointing a gun at this guy that was chained up that we believed that helped him, get that rope, and it was the thing that was allowing Boyd to get out of that whole entire little well, or whatever you want to call it, like a hole. And we also find out that he's a Marine, but this guy is pretty sus at this point, you know what I'm saying? And, this makes Boyd want to take him with him and get out of here. What's interesting with him, we'll get into this review as well, is he has a lot of information that he is not very clear about. He's very vague about it. This whole show is pretty vague, and I like that, because I want to kind of see where they go with this, because it's very fascinating how they are introducing certain characters and explaining certain things throughout while things are going on in the town amongst like all this chaos. It's very interesting. So speaking of which, we get this scene back at the diner where Donna is trying to explain the whole situation to the people that were on the bus. A lot of people are just still in disbelief. They just think that Donna is crazy and just, is just a nut. But she also mentions that everybody has seen the tree. Obviously, she's not going to explain everything, you know what I'm saying? It kind of jumps around this episode. And then we get back to Tabitha and Victor, and they're trying to figure out a way to just hide away. And we get to this one, like, truck where pretty much, Victor has set up shop. He goes there a lot. And they end up chopping it up a lot throughout this whole entire episode. We kind of get to see Victor kind of open up throughout this whole entire episode, more than he ever has, really, speaking about his mother. But he still kind of is reserved, just because he's been so traumatized. He's been there the longest. Maybe that old man that Boyd was talking to was there longer than Victor. Who knows? We still don't know who this guy is, but we're going to talk about that very shortly. Then we get some really interesting information about Christy. She's been gone for about 6 months, and we find this out through Mary, because Mary's like kind of freaking out at Christy. They're pretty much getting in an argument, like, you've only been 2 hours away, you've been here this whole time. She thinks that she pretty much joined a cult. So I don't know how long that whole relationship's gonna really last. It doesn't seem like that's gonna be a thing that's gonna last throughout the whole entire season. I definitely see Mary probably getting killed off, and I look at that as a win for Kenny in my eyes. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm rooting for Kenny to kind of, find some type of happiness, some type of something he could hold on to in this wacky, disturbing place. So, that's interesting. But then we get back to Jim, Tom, and Brick. That's what we find out what the other guy's name is, and he's pretty much freaking out. And they're trying to get him to calm down throughout this whole entire episode. Like, yo, chill out, stop talking so loudly, you'll be all right. Tom's pretty much the middleman, literally. He's the only one that can really get in reach of Brick and to get him to calm down. And we also see early in this episode, or at this point, that Jim has a busted up rib, so he can't really move that much at all. So then We also learn about Brooks' character. He is claustrophobic, which even makes things worse. Then we jump back. Like I said, this episode jumps around a lot. We jump to Boyd and Martin, and Boyd tells him all about the talisman, and it's be like, it's gonna be all right. I got this, and just Martin starts to say some weird things. Like, there's way darker things out there in that forest, things that are your nightmares can even dream. We shouldn't even be able to see them, type of shit. Like, he made the things that come out in the forest seem like nothing compared to what's actually beyond the forest or in the forest. So that's very interesting to me. But then the music box starts playing as this whole scene starts to play out between Martin and Boyd. It gets really creepy and eerie. It shoots back to the diner, and Julie's just very impatient. She's worried about her father. She wants to leave, but Kenny tries to just talk some sense into her and asks her what's her favorite book. She does not answer, of course. Then it jumps to this couple that kind of wanders off. I think their names were Brian and Kelly, and they have no idea what's going on. And I'm assuming that they ended up dying in the situation that they were in, because they got a knock at the door. And obviously, this is what these monsters do. They're able to just manipulate people that just don't know no better. And it's interesting to see how that kind of plays out, and seeing how Fatima, whatever you want to call her reaction, and how she is still traumatized by seeing that she can't really help nobody. It's the feeling of helplessness, and she's just tired of it. And she looks at these creatures dead in their face, and she's just completely fed up with it. She almost seemed like she was ready to just jump out there and unalive herself, but Alice is trying to just keep her calm and keep her to her senses, you know what I'm saying? So that's really interesting, and I've always liked that about this show, that they show that all these characters, no matter how long they've been there, they have been traumatized in some type of way. People just kind of go about it their different ways and try to just do their best to survive. So I always like that about this show. Going back to the diner, though, you have one of the bus people. I forget what his name was off the top of my head. He starts to get a little too crazy and takes Kenny hostage and says, look, I'm going to take this guy with me, and I'm going to prove you guys wrong. But Donna just fights for it and even calls his bluff, like, look, if you want to shoot him, but just know I'm going to shoot you next if you think you're going to open up that door. And I love Donna's energy, bro. I love Donna's energy. She's just like, I don't fuck around. If you want to fuck around, find out. That's the type of energy she kind of gives off, and I really like that. And, you know, is able to kind of de-escalate that whole situation. Boyd almost breaks out Martin, and then Martin starts to bring up Abby, and then Boyd just starts to kind of be like, how do you know about Abby? What's going on? Scratches Boyd. Now he says, my blood is now your blood, which makes me think he passed on some type of curse. I don't know if it's a curse or some type of protection, or is Boyd going to end up at the same fate as this old guy named Martin? I have no idea. It's going to be really interesting. But Boyd is able to get out of that whole entire area. He's just kind of banged up, and all of a sudden a dog approaches him. He follows the dog, and it cuts back to Kenny and Christy getting awkward after the whole fight between Christy and Mary. Kenny starts to make little small talk, and it doesn't necessarily, I don't necessarily rule out that they can't have a relationship sometime down the line. Like I said, I don't think Mary is going to be making it past season 2. That's just my prediction. But right now it's just kind of awkward between these two, because now her fiance is back. So, you know, Kenny's back to just square one with Christy. We go back to Brian and Kelly. Like I said, they get tricked by the monsters, and you know, I'm pretty sure they're gonna find their bodies in the next episode or something like that. But there's the most interesting thing about this episode is the creepy guy with the smile that you saw in all the promotions and stuff like that. He seems to be the one that is leading this whole entire group, because we saw him back at season 1. So he hops on the bus, and he's even trying to like interact, like they're almost trying to mimic being human. It's like they have a fascination with humans even though they kill them. Very interesting stuff. But then the old couple that decided to stay on the bus, you know, they thought they were going to be able to just hide out there, end up getting caught. They get fucking mangled. Then it cuts to Boyd, and he's kind of just running out into the woods. He can't really see, but he sees the monsters going in all different types of directions, but he just can't see. His vision is blurry. Then he ends up coming across Tabitha and Victor, while Victor and Tabitha are all having a conversation. But then also Elgin comes in with a bunch of monsters following him, and Boyd just pulls out a gun and be like, yo, who are you? And then Tabitha's like, no, like, we just gotta save him. We just gotta trust him for right now. And then they end up saving Elgin, and this is where Boyd finds out the people on the bus, and he's just in kind of disbelief. Going back to Jim, Tom, and Brick, though, Brick is making a lot of noise, and he just starts to bleed out profusely. And all of a sudden, it pans up, you see one of the creatures, and it seemed like the creature was kind of just probably gnawing at him or just slowly killing him. And this is what I like about these monsters, that everything that they do is kind of intentional. And I could see why they cut away from a lot of the different kills, because they end up showing what they do in their remains afterwards, and it has a more of an effect on the viewers and also like the characters when they see the actual bodies and stuff like that. So I kind of like that. That was interesting. Tom gets killed though. The bartender's done. Julie tries to leave the diner once again, but she's able to calm down. Some of the bus people the old lady from the bus, she tries to calm Julie down, saying like it's going to be all right. So it seems like she's going to be kind of like almost like a Carol kind of type of character. I don't know. It just seems like she's going to be like the grandma of the group. That's what it seems. Victor doesn't trust Elgin. You know what I'm saying? He kind of is looking at him sideways. Boyd is trying to make sure everything is okay. But it's dope that they kind of, you know, are running into each other. So something is leading all these characters into something. I don't know what it is. It's definitely, there's something bigger at play here. We still have to wait and see. But we also see that Victor asks Boyd, like, I thought you were on a journey. He also talks about his dreams, thinking that these were just dreams. But he says something like pictures remembered or something like that, where these are more like premonitions. That's what I see. And now the sun comes up and everybody kind of sees the carnage that was left behind. Christy sees Tom's dead body. He's just like completely gutted out, and he's almost just to the bone. Jim survives though. So Jim survives. They're about to get him out, or try to attempt to get him out by next episode. The bus driver finds the old dead couple in the back, so she might start to come around a little bit. Tabitha, Boyd, Victor, and Elgin go back to town. Tabitha runs to town after hearing about one of the houses collapsing, their house collapsing. Boyd has these weird things growing on him that you saw Martin have on him, and then Victor gives him a very weird look. So that's pretty much how the episode ends. But where is Sarah in all this? Are we gonna see her in her own kind of episode in episode 3? I have no idea. And is she okay? Yeah, man, this was a crazy ass episode. A lot of things happened, but like I said, I liked how everything played out in this episode. We got a little bit more information, still a little bit more answers to be, a little bit more questions to be answered, I should say. And I like that. And I like that they kept the horror aspect of it. They're just keeping people on their toes. You know what I'm saying? So who knows what it's going to be like when Boyd gets back, and he's going to have to kind of put a lot of things into place and probably have to restructure everything. We'll have to wait and see. Still got to wait to see where Sarah's at. But how did you feel about this episode? Where would you rate it? Let me know in the comments below. Did you really enjoy this episode? Are you still sticking with From? I just think it's getting better with each episode. Let me know how you guys feel about it. Till next time, I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.